my clan in the dark, swords are standing. We won't stand with the heart, it's your befriend. We ran down the path, the Lord intended. I pray to the Lord, my soul for the keep. Pray away from them whores and the gold of the make. I swore to defend, not roll with the weak, as the Lord would intend. A sword for the beast, hand on my heart for the gone remembered. My clan in the darkness, swords extended. Won't stand with the heartless, you're befriended. We ran down the path as the Lord intended. Ink runs blood red with the hand of God. Where their fam's exiled in the land of Nod. They sold every bit of their soul for the silver and gold, but Judah's son had to shoot a gun and plan to rob. So watch your mouth, no defamation. Did the devils in their den and their decorations. Yeah, I head with rebels to the steps of red revelation. I led on levels, loyalty, faith, depth and dedication. Said separation and trepidation, and never fear, cause it bred the tears and it fed the hesitation. Went fill my head with the meds, but the meditation, and light a fire and the bed is Satan. Yeah. Hand in my heart, go on, remember. My clan in the dark, swords extended. Won't stand with the heartless, you're befriend. We ran down the path as the Lord intended. I pray to the Lord, my soul for the key. Pray away from them whores and the gold of the meek. I swore to defend, not roll with the weak, as the Lord would intend. A sword for the beast, hand in my heart for the gone remembered. My clan in the darkness, swords extended. Won't stand with the heartless, you're befriended. We ran down the path as the Lord intended. As the Lord intended. Yo, in the church, sit and pray for the light. Pouring rain, 40 days and 40 nights. Build a shelter, chill until the storm subsides. Made it how the Lord would lie, made it how the Lord intended. I'm the storm, sword extended. Won't depend on the demons that you're befriended. Prayers for the gone remembered as their form ascended. Fought the war for the fallen, come forth defend it. For the vengeance, we kill, the devils bleed.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I can. Why is this on? Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I want to remove my background. Yeah. Go ahead, Rebel. Take over.
Woo! Hi, everybody, to the second Rubble of Empires live stream with slightly fewer technical issues and much higher production values thanks to Tara's assistance. Yeah, so a while ago, Tara was actually one of the first guests that I had on here, but unfortunately the sound didn't work when we recorded it. So we did a whole episode on her time in Gaza, yeah, where she lived for a couple of years and what brought her to Gaza and various things about living there. But today, which we may delve into a little bit on this episode, but the bulk of this episode is going to be discussing Palestinian exclusionary radical feminists which is or perfs, which is a Tara term that you need to pay her if you use.
I think I was the first one to coin that, but it wasn't like it was hard. It was just one letter, you know.
Yeah.
Inspired by
And it was also like P is very similar to a T, so it wasn't even like a whole new letter. Yeah.
First of all, Robo,
so,
I can hear you really well. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're coming through clear. Anyone in the chat? Michael's in the chat.
Nice.
Oh, hang on. Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay. The first few minutes are a little bit, you know, just getting our feet wet and adjusting to the pool temperature. I just want to make sure because one time my sound was really bad and everyone was polite and no one told me. And
right, yeah, Michael B.
I was like, oh crap.
Ruthless. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess it might be, I don't know, interesting to just do a quick like recap of some of the stuff we discussed last time. Sure. It's interesting because my late grandfather was a very religious Catholic, and I remember in his like 70s, or he was quite old, with his wife, my grandma, they had a chance to take an international holiday and they went to Palestine. And I remember my immediate family was kind of like, why are you going to essentially a war zone in their minds for your international holiday? But, you know, it's because he was a very religious man. And now I think like, you know, he got to see so much stuff that doesn't exist anymore. And it was a real kind of, opportunity. How did you end up in Gaza?
We're gonna
by religious fervor.
We're gonna do. It's gonna be a tarot expose. Great, yeah. Not on purpose. After I graduated with my bachelor's degree, with a major in sociology, and I minored in women's studies and American literature. So you can imagine the job market opportunities were just abundant for me, but I went with what I found interesting. Anyway, so I thought, I want to travel around, you know, but I didn't have much money. And so one of my teachers said, well, why don't you go travel around and teach English, you know, and figure out what you want to do for graduate school. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. So basically, you know, my American, at that point, I guess, for a long time, people preferred English accents. But then at that point, I guess American had become a better commodity. So anyway, I ended up in Seoul, Korea for a year, or almost a year, teaching English at a hagwon. And for those who don't know, they really work those kids in Korea. So they do a full day of school, they go home and have a snack, and then they go to hagwons in the evening, sometimes till 6 till 9, and do English, math, a variety of other things. So I was teaching English to very tired children in Korea, and South Korea was, you know, it was great, but my mind was melting. And so then I just went online, and I saw this thing that Microsoft in Shanghai was asking for what they called communication specialists. And so I applied for that and I got that. So I ended my contract a bit early and shifted to Shanghai. And the reason why this taps into Gaza is because after my first year contract was about to end, I realized that the corporate sector and the rah kind of Microsoft cult was not for me, although I really had a great time in China. And people I just kind of crossed paths with in Seoul, Korea. There was a couple from Canada, and they had just retired. And I guess you can kind of retire fairly early from teaching in Canada. And so they were traveling around, and they were teaching at the same hagwon I was at. We briefly crossed paths, and they had taken a position at the Gaza International School, the American International School in Gaza. So this is 2001 at this time, and they were having problems finding teachers, as you can imagine. And one of them took the principal position, and his wife was going to teach like in kindergarten or something. So I just got this email like, "Hey Tara, I don't know how things are going in Microsoft, but if you'd be interested in teaching, please let us know." And I was like, I'm like, okay, Gaza. I'm like, ooh, interesting. I mean, I knew a bit about the issue, by no means an expert. But so they just give me a bit more information. I wrote back to them and said, I appreciate the offer, but I don't have a teaching certificate. I have my bachelor's degree, but I don't have a teaching certificate. And they said, "Oh, at this stage, it doesn't matter because at a certain point when we have positions available, then the kind of like basically the criteria goes down. So it's like, you're a native English speaker, you have a bachelor's degree. Here's what we have open. What are you interested in?" And it was like history, history, social studies, and English, but not English as a second language, grammar and literature, this type of thing. And so I wrote them back and I was like, well, I have a minor in American Literature Studies. Oh, great. And so basically I was hired to be the main head, like there was only one teacher for the upper level English classes because they started this, the school was only a few years old. And so they only had up to grade 10. And so I was teaching grade 7 through grade 10 English and Literature Studies. And they only had one grade 7 class, one grade 8 class on. The younger classes they had more of. So anyway, I was like, all right. And so I just went there and it was 2 years. And that's how I ended up in Gaza. And like some of your family members, I was also, because this was after 9/11. And, I heard all this stuff like, I can't believe you're going over there to live with those terrorists, those killers. I had friends who I didn't even know were Jewish or had gone and done the tour thing and done the IDF, who were basically like cut ties with me if I was going to go. I mean, I was just like, what the, oh, yeah,
it's crazy.
And I was like, holy moly. And I just went there because I knew the Fishers briefly, but you get a feel for people, and they told me what it was like, for foreigners there. And I was like, this is a great opportunity. I'll go. So I did. And that's how I ended up teaching in Gaza, living and teaching in Gaza for 2 years, from July 2002 to June 2004. During the second Intifada. Yeah.
Yeah. So like right after 9/11.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So you
I have never fell prey to Islamophobia. Not yet.
Sorry. Oh, you've never fell prey to it. Yeah. So, you obviously got your government issue niqab when you got off the plane in Gaza, and had a male escort for you to walk behind wherever you went. Or did something else happen? What was it like in terms of in terms of those types of stereotypical things that people imagine?
Well, again, even though there was still, the population at that point was close to 2 million. So it's not like, it's a small place geographically, but it's quite packed. But of course, if you're a foreigner and you stand out, everybody knows, you stand out. But what it was is that long story short, no, I was never sexually assaulted. I was never stoned. I was never raped. Well, I guess rape is sexual assault. I was never asked why I didn't cover. I was never made to cover. And none of that stuff. But also, obviously you stand out, and I wasn't the only single female teacher. But I travel. If I wanted to go to the store, I'd go to the store. If I wanted to go to the market, I would go to the market. If I wanted to go to the UN club, even if I was going to walk home, I didn't want to wait for a taxi, or it was just a nice night, and I'd walk the 1 kilometer from, or maybe 2 kilometers, 1.5, whatever it was, from the coast to the UN beach club, Gaza Beach Strip Club, to our apartment. If I walked at night, a couple of times I did that, but I wouldn't also necessarily do that any place I live. But I never had any. I'm not saying it was the safest thing to do, but I never had any problems. Mm-hmm. Now, what you did have is people will look at you. Guys will look at you. They'll kind of want to smile at you, and they kind of want to follow along. Sometimes be like, hey, like they want to. it's the same thing, like, like they present it like they want to help you out. Oh, where do you want to go? I'll take you. Oh, you have nice eyes, this type of thing. But usually once an older person or adult saw that, they would kind of, like leave them alone, that kind of thing. That was really the extent of it, because you stick out, So, but also there's a class division, of course, in Gaza. So there's the original inhabitants, many of which are, were the landowners and more kind of, well-off families that have passports, maybe have citizenship also in Jordan or Egypt or UK or France or wherever, and the refugees that came. And so it was the wealthier families who petitioned the American. There's a group that runs. I don't know if it's a company or a private foundation that runs several international schools, American international schools in Egypt and the Middle East. And they petitioned them and said, "Hey, we know it's not going to be economically viable, but if we float it, will you open up a school here?" It's basically saying it's your school, like your rules, your accreditation, all that, but we'll float it financially until at some point it gets, viable. But they also to that wouldn't been cool if they just kind of had this private school only for the upper class, the landowners, and got maybe like like I don't know, I will say local elite perhaps. Outside of the refugee camps, which is the majority of the population. So they had like about 30% of the students were from those families, and then about 70% were scholarship kids, were kids from the refugee camps and other poor areas. Yeah, and so these families, so everything, basically the reason why I told that, cut me off if I go too long, it was basically the word was out, like, don't fuck with these people. But also everybody who's been to Palestine or to other other Middle Eastern countries, being a good host is quite important. So it's like they're coming here. It's difficult for them. They want to teach our children. And so it was like, it's our responsibility to make sure. So it would have been really, people would have, if a guy had gotten really inappropriate with one of us, it would have been taken care of.
Yeah.
Was my understanding, but I never had that happen personally to me. And the other female colleagues who I had who were single and stood out like I did, we were all bright white. Not all from America, but we're all bright white,
giving everybody snow blindness.
None of the four of us who were single ladies there, who bought, we're kind of a group. None of us covered, but of course we weren't walking around in hot pants and halter tops. So I would wear, it'd be pants or a longish skirt or like a longer like sundress or something. I wouldn't be out with like a tank top or something like that. I probably could have, but again, it's just this thing, like,
when in Rome,
I wasn't dressing like I was, like we would do when we'd go to Israel, and then we didn't stick out at all. Nobody cared unless they knew where we weren't, and then they cared a lot. And I have to say that compared to other places I have been, anywhere. And I've also lived in India and Holland and the UK and America. Obviously, I grew up in America and vacationed in other places. I would say without a doubt that I was safer. I'd be safer walking home from a restaurant at night in Gaza than I would in any Western major city. Yeah, I would say that without a doubt.
Right.
Doesn't mean nothing would happen. Okay, things could happen. I'm not saying there's no sexual abuse in Gaza. People, calm down. Calm down, feminists. And also, I have to say, I'm chubby now, but back then I was, Yeah.
I've seen the photos. I'd just have to go for a second. But I'll be like 30 seconds. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. So Rebel has left. So I'm just going to start a bit. Hi, everyone. Again, after the plan for today, after he asked me the questions he wants to ask about my time in Gaza in the Middle East, is we want to go over what we found, or maybe it was obvious to other people, but it was a surprise to me, just how many feminists or women's rights activists are quite genocidal, or can flip a switch to genocidal after one incident, October 7th, the day the earth stood still, day one, and so that's what we want to talk about, because I had in the past, I was aware that feminists, like anybody else, or women's rights activists like anybody else, have biases and blind spots and whatnot. But I'm quite surprised how okay they are just with the annihilation of a group of people because Islam or Hamas or the hijab or whatever. So we want to kind of talk about that, because I'm currently on a mission. I used to be, I don't know. I never said I wasn't a feminist. I did minor in women's studies back in, Southern Oregon University. There's feminist people who say they're feminist scholars who I appreciate quite a bit, Nancy Fraser and Simone de Beauvoir and others. But I have to say, when people would assume I'm a feminist, I'm loud and proud, whatever. And I would never correct them. I never really thought about it. I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm for women's rights, I'm for, equality. And then I went to being kind of feminist critical when the whole trans stuff started, and how also a bit when I saw how they reacted to how easy they swallow anything that's negative about Islam. And then, and when some of them started saying trans women are women, and if you don't agree with that, you're a bigot and all that. So that divide in feminism. And now with how many genocidal, just outright realizing the intersectionalities, there's Zionist feminists, there's imperialist feminists, there's colonial feminists, there's the most stupid, thick. I've heard stuff from these women that make my eyes melt. I'm like, what am I in the, Jim Crow South or something? I'm like, and just boldly, so that's what we want to kind of talk about after Rebel asks me any questions he wants to ask about my time in Gaza. And I'm going to turn it back over to my captain.
Sure. I just realized I think I've just gone live on my YouTube channel.
It was on mine for a while, so
yeah, I don't understand.
There. No, let's just go, because the check mark was there before we started, so I think it's all right.
Yeah, I'm just oh well. Anyway, whatever's happening.
If you want to start an intro again, just briefly, if it wasn't, but before we started, I had all the little green checks were in my bar, and including your YouTube channel. So
yeah, cool. Whatever. Yeah, no, let's get into that. Yeah, it's crazy. I probably took a similar path. I dropped out of a gender studies degree at some point many moons ago, but that's what I was studying. Well, I started in journalism and switched a whole bunch of things, but at one point I was doing gender studies kind of, and it was called gender studies, so it was like just as that switch had started to happen, the trans thing wasn't like hadn't really kicked in yet, but we were getting primed for that sort of a thing. And yeah, I think I've probably taken a pretty similar path to you in terms of starting to realize, because I was a trot very early on, had joined Trotskyite, had joined a Trotskyite. These
terms, yeah. I only recently figured out this recently, a year or so ago. I'm like, why does everyone keep on asking me if I'm a trot or a tanky? Like, what is this? It's like the red pill, blue pill, and Matrix. Anyway.
Yeah. So they were, pro-feminist and had, would like talk about how some communists weren't, and some communists thought that feminism was bourgeois, and I was trained to dismiss that and did so. And then I guess just kind of realized, because I was normally around and reading feminists that at least had some kind of critique of capitalism. So it wasn't that glaring, but then getting involved in the GC thing, you've got a whole bunch of right wingers essentially, which is fine, but yeah, they have no analysis of capitalism whatsoever. And then you start to really see how it is actually quite bourgeois, and how they don't have any conception of where feminism comes from, and its relationship to class struggle. So one of the things that I would always point out is you can tell that the third and fourth and whatever other waves of feminism are bullshit, because the first two waves corresponded to massive upswings in class militancy, and so they were kind of, in some senses, a reflection of that, but then also an attempt to co-opt that militancy and be okay, we can't give you the whole economic system, but we can make a few concessions to women, so you'll be kind of demobilized. So, for example, I was quite shocked to learn that British women who Marxists have always argued for universal voting and women's right to vote, and capitalists always said that was unrealistic, and they were the reason why it wasn't a thing. And so for decades prior, and then when the Russian Revolution happened and Russian women were about to become the first women in Europe to get the vote, in between the time when the Russian Revolution happened and the Soviet Union actually became a country, that's when British women got the right to vote. And I don't think, none of the Turf Island TERFs have any concept that that what happened in the UK didn't happen in isolation and was actually part of a much broader struggle. And their whole oh well, the women did it just because they were ladies and they did it for ladiness.
Ladies are doing it for themselves. Yeah,
and it's actually there were groups of men who were pro women's suffrage for a very long time, not to mention shit tons of communist women who were both pro-revolution and pro-women's suffrage, and saw bourgeois feminists as essentially selling out this revolution for proletarian women for the benefit of bourgeois women. And so then that's how you start to see that it, in many ways, it can be and is a bourgeois ideology. In some senses, probably not that different. Haven't really thought this out that hard, and I've been calling everything a variation of Zionism. But it probably isn't that different from Zionism, just in the sense that it's like an idpol thing divorced from class, and being the same way that Zionists will be no, this is what you need for Jews to have anything, and without this we would be all dead. You get the same message from feminists who are like, yeah, this is the only thing that was ever good, and anyone who attacks it is just trying to kill us all.
I think some of them are, and some of them are so rape obsessed that I'm surprised, and probably some of them have, like, if you haven't been raped today, thank a feminist. I mean, it's insane. If I may interject, I think that one of the things that I've come to realize as I've taken a more critical eye to feminism is I don't give them any no cards. Yeah. You don't get the patriarchy card, you don't get the rape card, you don't get any card, no card. You know? And looking back at how, I'm not sure why it is, I don't want to get too far off track with this episode, but they've been largely enabled to construct their own mythology, their own history. Yeah. And thereby become the gatekeepers or the owners of quote unquote women's history or women's rights or the patriarchy and all of that, you know? So I think that one of the things I want to do, and because I came across this analogy when I wrote, just to plug, Feminism's Woman Problem that Savage Minds published, you know, so go check that out.
Definitely do. It's really good.
Is that, you know, it's like Zionism is to Jews as feminism is to women. You know, look at how Zionists treat Jewish people who don't go along with the program, and you'll see a lot of similarity to how a lot of feminists treat women who are mocking them now, non-feminist conforming women, which of course Muslims who cover are. So again, I have another thesis that I'm working on, that the real ire that these genocidal feminists, these purse have, these, you know, Islam is the rape, it's rape and women are slaves and everything bad, Islam's coming to get them, all this stuff, is that their real resentment is for the women, not for the men.
Yes.
That's the separate, but what I wanted to get back to is that, you know, that we just have kind of like, I don't know what it was, if it was like, oh, well, you know, the women are coming into academia now in larger numbers. They're setting up their places, you know, women's studies, so they can do, and we'll let them just be on, you know, women's history, all of this stuff. And when you look at that and you start to poke holes in, when you start to realize how many of these feminists, especially in the 19th century, the first wave and second wave, were actually funded by really rich families,
right,
and women, you know, and you realize that with like even Simone de Beauvoir, who I'm not going to throw babies out with bathwater, you know, we all are cracked vessels, as Professor West would say, but this idea that they went after the housewife, I mean, they were brutal with the housewife, you know, and mocking her, right, enemy, you know. So it was like, you know, under the guise of saving, of liberating, they had to go and tell this gospel of how what's really wrong with everything in your life is the patriarchy, is the man. And I'm not saying there weren't obviously issues, yeah, but you go in that and you're like, and so when you mentioned the not having a political economy, of course there are materialist feminists or Marxist aware feminists, etc. But a lot of them, it just becomes very cultural. It becomes the patriarchy, or now toxic masculinity, or Islam, you know. And women are sugar and spice and everything nice, and men are the root of all evil and marked with original sin, and they just need to get their shit together and all this stuff. And so I'm just, the more I look at it critically, I'm like, man, this is pretty weak tea. This is pretty, I mean, not as weak as trans women or women or gender ideology, but there's stuff that for some reason has just been given a different set of standards, especially for intellectual and philosophical viability and credibility, than other stuff, you know. And I don't know why that is, or what or how, if we're going to come around it now. But this idea of pitting men against women at the population level, as if that's going to get us anywhere, as if these women could last a day. Well, actually, they could last a day, a week, if they were to extricate themselves from everything that the men produce, maintain, or have produced. I would say, good luck to you, ladies.
Yeah,
anyway, I digress. So anyway, bottom of the line, don't be afraid. We need to subject feminism and any ism to brutal critique.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're
Yeah.
not. The more I look into it, the more I'm like, I'm just like, God, did I just not see this before, or was it, you know, is this is a feature, a bug? But the more I look into, the more, especially now, what's coming out after October 7th, I'm like, you know, a pox on their house. We need to overcome it. It needs to be sublated into something else.
Like one of the reasons why I started, like, it was explained to me of, you know, why you should use, say, the term patriarchy as opposed to sexism, was that you're then talking about like a system, and that sounds you know, a bit Marxisty in that, like if there's like some reality to it. But I think, yeah, ultimately, like a lot of what they're talking about is, is capital, and capitalism is the like driving force, because it's not like that's what separates capital from feudalism. It's not a patriarchal system. Anyone can own capital, and it's like something like 20% of the world's billionaires are women. And so if all it was going to take was to get some billionaire women, and they were then going to have like this natural class solidarity with other women, then we would already have, you know, a much more egalitarian situation. One of the things that I also find funny, you were talking about like the funding of the early feminists. I got a book called the Suffragette Bombers, and it was about like all the terrorism essentially that the suffragettes participated in, and it's interesting because and a lot of them were fascist too. Like a lot of them were like actual, well, not a lot, but there were a number of women in the leadership of the WSPU or whatever it was, that were like, that had strong fascist sympathies. And I just think it's interesting now where they're like, oh, terrorism, you can't support terrorism, and they'll be really down on any sort of protest that like gets in the way of ordinary people. So anyone blocking a road, or, oh, you poured some like paint on a painting, like what a horror, like, don't you understand that's just going to alienate people? And it's like, you fuckers were like literally burning churches down on the regular and putting bombs in.
Well, not them. They're idols.
Yeah. The people whose flag you wave, and you seem to think that like waving a terrorist flag makes you a terrorist. And that's what the suffragette flag was. The flag of a terrorist organization, essentially. So yeah, it's bizarre. Their lack of
well, and to be fair to the feminists, I think that a lot of people, the idea of protest in theory, if it's about something you don't like or opposing something you don't like, is fine. But when it actually affects you, or you know, affects your daily life, or is somehow harassing, is some sort of, you know, then it becomes, you know, a different issue. But it's this idea that like, it's like, that's the whole point of protests, is to disrupt things. And I mean, you know, obviously I'm not going to say that the best thing to do is, if you want to, you know, stop oil, which is a stupid thing anyway, is to make people trying to get to work or get to their doctor's appointment on the expressway to block them, rather than to go and try to inhibit the activity of people who are in charge of the mining and making all the money off that. But that's a separate thing. But what I would say in terms of the feminism is that also that what you don't realize is, or what, in terms of the story they tell themselves about themselves, is that from the beginning, we get this idea that everybody was on board. All the women were on board with women's rights. Some of them are more vocal, but everybody was on board. It's not true. There was a lot of pushback suffragettes, and not and a lot of suffragettes, it seems from what I've looked into, are more middle class and upper middle class. A lot. It was not a glass. It was not a glass. What we would consider a grassroots, poor and working class woman driven thing. Like, we really need the vote. And I'm not saying that I'm against women having the vote. I'm just saying is that be careful of any group that wants to become the spokesperson for half the population. Yeah, or any entirety of the population. You know, you have these.
Yeah, a very similar thing happened here with gay marriage. That was a campaign that the majority of gay people didn't support. And I remember reading an article by like gay campaigner from the Trot group, my old Trot friends, like talking about how proud they were that they managed to like switch the gay population from being indifferent or opposed to marriage to being in support of it. And it's like, surely that should have come from them, and then you go campaign, not you decide what they want, you tell them, convince them, and then but anyway, do you want to move on to our slideshow?
Sure.
Or our slides?
I will get this up here. Yes. So I'll just, for people who aren't aware, on the left, I think it's your left, you see the graphic of the lady with the suffragette flag colors and a Star of Israel, an Israel t-shirt, sweater. And this is the perf, you know, because the Palestinian excluding radical feminist. We're going to talk about that. And it's just basically where that came from is a lot of us who were, TERFs, and now have had to disassociate ourselves and say, no, I'm not a TERF, I'm a TAG, a TERF against genocide. I know that there are only two sexes and you can't change your sex, and it's stupid to pretend that a man's a woman and a woman's a man, or that people are both or neither, or can switch back and forth depending on their mood. And I know that Israel is my definition of Israel is a lunatic timeshare protection racket imperial outpost colony that is the tip of the sword of Western imperialism. They want greater Israel, and sometimes it's sped up and sometimes the project is slowed down, but that's my understanding of Israel. Geopolitically. Yeah. But what you found is, and I'll let you talk about Kelly J. Keene's blacklisting of people who were not sounding like they just crawled out of Bibi Netanyahu's asshole, or took the IDF tour and swallowed it whole. From the go, it was been entirely Israeli centered, especially on the hostages. Everything is filtered through that. There's like no effort or capacity to look at anything from the point of view of the Palestinians and in that area. And it doesn't matter how many bodies pile up. It doesn't matter what the Israelis say, do, post, boast. These ladies have dug in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the perf. Yeah. So they're for women's rights, but apparently if you are, Muslim, of course, that's a problem. Arab, although I think they conflate I'm not even sure if they know the difference between Persians, Arabs, Kurds, and I don't know if they know that or not. But yeah, so that's it. So women's rights activists, femaleists, party of women, let women speak, all with an asterisk. Yeah.
Yeah. Does not apply.
Yeah, it does not apply.
Yeah.
Anyway.
To Muslims.
Yes. Particular Palestinians. But we'll get to that too. Then in the middle of this graphic, you have Women's Declaration International, which came online, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago or something. I'm not sure. Women's Declaration International started in the United States, US-based organization. And I think a lot of it, it started with this to combat this trans women or women crap. Yeah. And basically saying like, no, women are adult human females. The only people that can become women are girls who make it through puberty. This is the serious regression of women's rights. Great, fine for them. they started posting about Afghanistan a few months, 6 months ago. And if you look at Women's Declaration International, any of their chapters, they have chapters in Canada, United States is the main one, UK, and now Afghanistan. How many times do you think they've posted anything about Palestinians or Gaza or anything critical of Israel or their government's backing of it? How many times do you think they've mentioned this?
I know the answer, but you would imagine like at least maybe, a handful of times given how heinous things have been. Yeah.
0, baby.
Yeah.
They are really, the Afghan woman, they stand with her. They stand for her so much that they put words in her mouth and dreams in her head. Anyway, so that's where the cult of the Afghan woman comes in. Do you want to say something before I go on with any of this?
Yeah, I had a few quick things. One was like I always knew or suspected KJK was
Kelly J. Keane, Posey Parker, the head.
Yeah, Kelly J. Keane, Posey Parker.
In the UK. Yes.
Yeah. I started calling them the pyromaniacs of whiteness instead of the party of women once they started endorsing burning down migrant hotels, or at least KJK did.
Oh yeah.
So regards. So I always knew she was like, had some dumb ideas regarding Islam, and I actually heard. I was listening to some trans thing where one of the anti-fascist researchers had was talking about how he'd been following KJK for a while, and that she'd actually started out as a anti-halal tax, or not tax, but like an anti-halal kind of campaigner. Remember that was a thing maybe like 10, 15, 12 years ago. That's what all the anti-Muslim people were doing, was saying like halal certification funds terrorism was the claim.
Like kosher food, like for Muslims, isn't the same thing?
Yes.
Halal?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were arguing that the group, that whoever certifies,
not in my country.
Yeah.
Halal.
Yeah. They were arguing that whoever does the certification is like connected to terrorism. So if we allow halal certification, then we're funding terrorism, was their basic claim. But
slippery slope.
I do remember prior to October 7, Kelly J. Keane saying something to the effect of like, I don't know enough about like Palestine, Israel to have an opinion on it. And normally I disagree with the last person. Sorry, normally I agree with the last person I've heard. So if I hear someone from Palestine talking, so that's definitely different to like her post-October 7 attitude, but is very like similar to say Megan Murphy, who's good friends with Kelly J. Keane, who admitted she didn't even know what Zionism was prior to October 7th. So I think probably the vast majority of them were in that situation of like had never thought about the issue prior to this, and then just got spoon-fed the Hasbara from their communities and took that on face value.
Douglas Murray, they love Douglas Murray, Konstantin Kisin.
Oh God!
Anyway,
and whoever his co-hosts are, like, just seem like it's like, why weren't you bullied worse in high school? I'm like, you looked like you were, and it should have been harsher. Yeah, just like slimy little fucks.
We have some examples. Should we go through some examples of perf, of Palestinian exclusionary radical feminists?
Sure. I just wanted to get to two quick things first. Regarding the IW or the Women's Declaration International.
Okay.
They're connected to WOLF, Women's Liberation Front, which from my understanding was like the feminist wing of Deep Green resistance.
I think so.
Yeah, and like,
because Lear Keith is one of the main founders, and she was also with Derek Jensen. I think those were the two. Yeah. So Lear Keith.
Yeah, so I used to be like, I've read a lot of Derek Jensen, and used to like, you know, I still think there's some value to his work, but I'm less obsessed with it than I was. And it's interesting because, yeah, it seems like Lear herself is really behind Israel. I tried to do some searches through like the Deep Green Resistance Twitter and stuff, and they have some stuff from like re-Israel from like 15 years ago. But there's like nothing more recent than that. And then, yeah, both Wolf and DGR have nothing like post October 7th.
Well, it's worse than that, if I may interject. They peddle the atrocity, the rape hoax.
Yes.
They peddle anything that comes out. Again, they have a bias, and it's quite clear that anything that has anything that is from about a Muslim-dominated area or whatever, they have a bias for us. So this is July 6th. This is after it was not mainstream, but it was widely debunked that there was no evidence of any kind of mass rape on October 7th, nor were there any beheaded babies or burned babies or anything like that. One baby was killed during October 7th. Yeah, and that baby could have been killed by the IDF not wanting to allow Hamas getting soldiers. I don't know the circumstance of that baby's death, but I know if you have a list now, the official list of the deaths on October 7th, there is one baby. One. And there's been no, I mean, you know, so there's lots of allegations, and the videos that went out like right away, they had this ready. Yeah, they were waiting. This was not just, what how should we capitalize on October 7th? Well, we don't know what we're going to do. But they not only haven't said anything. I mean, you know, they don't have to be anti-Zionist to say, can we ease up on the child killing?
Yeah. Could we get some baby formula into Gaza? Could we get some anesthetics so women aren't having C-sections without
Yeah. No. But they will. They haven't posted anything about Gaza, Wolf, but they did post this. We advocate. So this is the Times. Sexual violence was widespread and systematic during the October 7th attack. Rape and gang rape occurring in 6 different occasions, according to a report using testimony never heard before. This is all debunked bullshit. This is all secondhand, made up. You know, we don't know. There could have been, but there's no evidence of it. Yeah. No credible evidence of it. This is just, you know, they just throw this out there. So these ladies, these wolf ladies, who it's like, it's also, aside from the fact of not parting about Gaza, if you just look at the rape thing, you really want to peddle rape hoaxes? That's what you want to do? I mean, it's quite clear to me. I don't know this for a fact. Well, I know some of the women in there, that all these organizations are Zionist dominated.
Yeah.
100%. Take that to the bank. Take it to the bank. You know, and it's just like amazing to me. So Wolf's never posted anything critical about what Israel's reaction and their government's support of it since October 7th. Neither has Women's Declaration International, but oh my God, they really care about the Afghan woman. And it's not because they want to launder their guilt or shame or have plausible liability. We're not against Muslim women. We don't have an, you know, blah, 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 blah. That's my guess, at least, you know. And of course, I will admit that when you hear these things from Afghanistan, I'm just like, Jesus, you know, calm down, Taliban. You know, it's not good. If it's true, if we just assume that the reports coming out of there are all true, I'm not hearing anything that I would support or that I wouldn't support the women there, if they were trying to do it in a way that doesn't cast it as a Western imperial NGO bullshit, because that's going to be not help them out. Anyway.
2 things on that. I remember seeing something about a Israeli PR company or somebody had done research into what would outrage like foreign audiences the most, and they had like everything like, what's your reaction to you know, civilians killed. What's your reaction to civilians hurt? What's your reaction to hostages taken? And basically the only thing people cared about was like mass rape. The thing about like one of the lowest ones was hostages taken. Nobody gave a shit like about like hostages not being like they didn't like hostages being tortured or anything like that, but just the taking of hostages like didn't raise anybody's like thing at all. And so I think they knew that they had to have that to really like get people behind them. So they just said it happened like regardless, you know, the same with the 40 beheaded babies, like just say it. And then, the other thing is, they always pretend as though they're the first people to have ever cared about women in Afghanistan. But the like in my old trot group, we had conferences, and we would invite women from Rawa to come and attend, and they did. And Rawa is the Revolutionary Association of the Women of Afghanistan, or something to that effect.
Actually run by Afghanistan women in Afghanistan, as I recall.
Exactly. And, you know, this was back like post 9/11. And there were people then who were like, oh, burqa, burqa, burqa. And Rawa was like, no, the burqa is not like something we're concerned about at all. What we're concerned about is the US military coming in and bombing our country. And and
the sanctions,
and the sanctions, and these idiots don't seem to understand, like, okay, let's try to come up, you know, dumb people find metaphors and analogies hard, but they're a good way to illustrate points to anyone who can.
Our audience, we're talking to our audience now. We're not talking to these crazy genocidal feminists.
Yeah.
We're talking to our audience now. Welcome. Hello.
So,
take good analogies.
The comparison I would give is like, say, China decided that like US women were being oppressed by trans, and the way that they were going to solve that problem was to like militarily invade and basically like cut off all food to America, like in an effort to like assist in their invasion process to help the women from the oppression of transgenderism, of course. Like, what do you think that would do? One, do you think that would be successful? And do you think that would actually help to undermine transgenderism in the US? Or would people start to rally around it as like, this is our American thing against those evil Chinese people who are like starving us to death and killing us? And yeah, they don't seem to like apply that to anywhere else, which is like exactly what happened in Afghanistan. Afghanistan now is worse than it was in, say, the 90s, precisely because of the US intervention, I would argue, particularly because now the Taliban know the international community have no cards to play. What are you going to do? Reinvade again and like lose more? And the same thing with like women in Iran. The movement to kind of relax the restrictions around, you know, wearing veils and stuff like that was quite popular and quite fierce. But once the West endorsed Israel killing civilians in an essentially unprovoked attack on Iran, suddenly every woman who's part of that movement goes, oh, these Western women don't actually give a shit about like what happens to me or my kids. All they're concerned about is the perception that Islam is being weakened, and if I need to die in order to help that happen, they're more than happy for that to go ahead. So yeah, the things that they advocate in order to fix these problems just make them worse. Yeah,
imagine that if your basic knowledge of that of what their paradigm is Islam bad. Islam is it's just rape and slavery and the most misogynistic thing ever, and barbaric, all the stuff. Islam contains all that for them. That's all you need to know. Unaware to say it's like, you guys are secular missionaries. You're there to spread your good news to convert the ladies. Yeah, and the women, like every imperialist or colonialist or insurgents always want to do. Obviously, it's good to get a hold of the women who have the babies and raise the children, and actually are how civilization continues. It's just mindless, and it's also, like you said, it's and since we got into Afghanistan, we'll save some of more of the eyebrow melting genocidal feminist statements for maybe later, and I'll bring up the cult of the Afghan woman here to absolve Western feminists of all their sins. They just really care about the Afghan woman. So let's see if I can find. Okay. So here's the kind of stuff that WDI Afghanistan posts. So here you have this lady in traditional some Afghani wear, and she's imagining herself as a doctor, I guess. And then you have another one over here, WDI Afghanistan. This is from this month, from an Afghan woman. They say, I want to count who truly stands with me during these difficult times. If you are with me, reply with yes. I'm counting every one of you. Your support means everything. And if anybody goes and looks at this post, it is like a religious revival. You have these women like, yes, I'm with you. Yes, I stand for you. All these Western women, all these saviors, these white women's burdens, they're gonna save their sister. They're gonna, oh yes. Yeah, you go only the things. It's really bizarre. It's like, it's like you're like, yes,
yeah.
And, and it's just kind of like, I guess all the Afghan ladies are dreaming of escaping their country and their culture and going in a high-rise office space in a nice white suit with, I don't know, maybe rejecting people's health insurance claims. I don't know. So it was just like, I was like, what in the Orientalism is this?
Yeah.
And they got some pushback because people noticed that almost every time this WDI Women's Declaration International Afghanistan posted, that J.K. Rowling would repost it, saying how her heart breaks for Afghan women, and this is terrible. Why aren't countries doing more? And of course, if you go and look at J.K. Rowling, she has also mentioned Gaza 0 times. Not one statement about what has befallen the women and children of Gaza, or in Palestine, more broadly, Syria, Lebanon, etc. And I don't mention just the women and children because I don't care about men, but because these ladies are feminists. Yeah, they're all about the women and the children. All about the safeguarding. Don't like that toxic masculinity. Don't like that patriarchy. I'm assuming that means like warring and going crazy when somebody does you wrong or upsets you. Apparently not. So people were saying like, and I also, they blocked me, but I was also like, isn't it interesting how there seems to be a connection between people who are either silent or support Israel's annihilation campaign in Palestine, and how much they've expressed their concern and stand with Afghan women. I just want to put that out there. I found it curious. Do you want to read this lovely statement from WDI Afghanistan and then tell me what they're missing, or tell our listeners what they're missing?
Yeah.
Or I can, whatever you like.
Sure. Okay, I'll read it. I'm not sure why some people have a problem with Afghan women. This page is specifically for Afghan women who have been living without basic rights, and WDI Afghanistan is their voice to the world. Yet some comment asking, why don't you speak about Gaza, or why not support women there? Let me be clear, Afghanistan has suffered over 50 years of war. Yeah, where did a lot of those wars come from?
It gets better, Rob.
Which Muslim country came to defend Afghan women and people? On the contrary, many contributed to the chaos. Where were the voices from Gaza or others when Afghan women were suffering for decades? In fucking Rawa, in the giant anti-war movement that campaigned against the war in Afghanistan, that was like as historically, yeah. Anyway, I guess like Iraq and Afghanistan.
Think that Gazans were hip on American imperialism? Really? Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, we want justice for women everywhere, including Gaza. But let's also ask why Gaza is in this situation today. Right. So it's not just that we don't know anything about it. We have an opinion. Yeah, it is the result of a version of Islam imposed by its own people, just like in Afghanistan under the Taliban. This isn't about ignoring one group. It's about finally listening to Afghan women who have been silenced for too long. Yeah, classic. Yeah, I think also like one thing that outraged people, or like, you know, part of the thing that made them post this was that someone asked, where does the money go? You say you're raising money, and her response was like, I spend it on myself, basically, which I think might have been her trying to be or like this person trying to be, you know, sarcastic, but yeah, they didn't take it that way, and I think it's. Do you think,
Rebel? Do you think that they screened this post with Afghan women?
Right. Yeah. Oh, definitely.
You can't find a few. I mean, they're just like there's Miami Cubans. There's, you know, there's probably Miami Afghan women. You know.
Yeah.
Or, you know, there's also Iranian diaspora who, you know, love to party the CIA line. And not that there isn't anything to be critical about in these regimes, but I'm just saying, like, in general, do you think this is something that, you know, I mean, I just wonder, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. So what's the next one?
Okay. So this is why there's, because as I remember you mentioning that they really wanted to push rape and like beheaded babies right from October 7th, before the dust had cleared. They had this right on the top drawer to start pushing out all the Hasbra, you know, the Zionist harmonic orchestra, etc. But even though people still peddle that, they had the problem that there was no evidence of it besides their allegations. And then you notice that all of a sudden, the Israeli hostage, you know, it sanitized all the genocide, because they're not IDF occupation soldiers. They're not administrators for apartheid and occupation, ethnic cleansing. They're not illegal, crazy settlers or religious fanatics. None of that. No, they're the hostage. Ah! And you saw this sanctification. They were just dancing, or he got kidnapped from his tank. It's like, what? So you have that, and now you have the Afghan woman. So if you, quote unquote, this is my theory, if you stand with Afghan women and you care about the Israeli hostage, you can say any nasty shit you want. So far.
Absolutely.
I don't know how long this fetish is going to go on, how long these two cults can last, but they're still sticking with it, you know, and they reverse it on you. Like anybody who has an issue with this white woman's burden, this Orientalism, this like, are you like a Mossad cutout? Any kind of concern about this? How it doesn't really sound like this is coming from, like, you know, like, who are these Afghan women who you're, you know, relaying messages for, or etc. No, it's none of that. It's just that we don't care. They're good. They care about these women who nobody else cared about. No Muslim cares about Afghan women. And if you have an issue with it, you're bad. You don't care about the Afghan women. You just want to talk about Jews.
Yeah. And if there are women who disagree with them, they're terrorists and they basically deserve to die, as well. So it's very effective.
Well, I love a lot of times we have a comment like that. They'll be like, well, you should go. Like they basically, these feminists who are supposed to be hate rape above all else. Well, basically, because they think that everybody gets like, it's like everybody's raping constantly all the time in these countries. And they'll be like, well, you should, why don't you go over there? Like, go over there, basically telling you to go over there and get raped. So they're like, why don't you go to Gaza and hang out with Hamas? I'm like, I lived there for 2 years. Don't threaten me with a good time, biatch.
Yeah, and then it's like, well, you must work for them, like blah blah blah. If you're not as irrationally terrified as I am,
they need me to tell them about Israel and the United States, whatever. Anyway, yeah. So again, and then Killer J. Keane, of course. This weekend, the whole of London and other major cities will be shut down as they march for women of Afghanistan. Kidding. So again, it's this thing like she doesn't like anybody protesting for against what Israel and the US, UK, EU, Modi-backed Israel. That's terrible. That's bad. They're all stupid leftist women who don't realize how evil Islam is and how they just want to cover you and rape you and slave you, this type of thing. Halal your food, I guess. That's also bad. So she does this too, and for a longest time, she blocked me a while ago, but anytime anybody wanted to point out, just like, have you considered like the history of the area? Have you considered what, just basically like just factual historical record? She would just want to be like, play the Hamas card, Are you talking about far right Hamas? Or basically when someone say do you realize that you're just it sound like you're parroting far right comments? And she'd be like, are you talking about far right Hamas? This is her thing for everything. Like, Hamas is like a shield. So she played the Hamas card, still does, like nobody's business. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Why don't you talk about Afghan women? Hamas. She hates the hijab and the niqab. Fine, because that's what's really important. Go ahead.
I'm almost certain, like, if she's not being paid now, that is on her because she's definitely doing the work. And it's, very anti-feminist for her to do this work for free and not be paid. And given that there are influencers with much smaller platforms who are getting thousands of dollars from various Israeli Hasbara outfits, I can't imagine she's not getting paid by them now. And so that is why, one, like, a lot of the dumbness is probably organic just from her, but that economic incentive, I think, would definitely have sealed off any opportunity to try and break in there with any sort of have you considered kind of any more nuance beyond what she's already got.
Well, and here's an example of this, and we can only go by what she says, and what she does and posts. We don't know what's going on in her mind, of course, or anybody else's. How come I don't know what's going on in my own mind? Anyway, but it's also this thing that she will justify it, like if one of my kids had been killed that day, I also would burn the whole place down, blah blah blah. And it's like, but the inability to apply that to people other than Israelis. Yeah. It's just like, and also it's like, and are you saying that's a good thing? There's a reason why people who are directly related or victims of a crime don't go and track people down and decide what punishment is right. So it's like, if someone if someone did X, Y, or Z to my kid, I would have all kinds of feelings and revenge fantasies, maybe, but I would, would anyone say, your government should totally empower that and that should be their policy?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
kill
Yeah,
everyone.
I remember a teacher in high school basically saying that to me when I was sort of arguing anti-death penalty stuff, and was like, well, you know, what if this? What would you want to happen? And it's like, you don't care what I want to happen in any other context, but suddenly once I'm enraged and full of bloodlust, now you're like, oh yeah, what policy would you like to implement? Like, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just really, yeah, the arguments aren't yeah, who knows why she does what she does. But it's also interesting again with these genocidal feminists or these perps, they will believe absolutely anything that's negative about Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Anything. Case in point is this thing that made the social media rounds, at least on X last week, I think it was. So, world, Afghan women with one eye. This isn't a dystopia. This is the reality of 2025. In Afghanistan, women are now officially told that one eye is enough to see. They are instructed to cover the other eye with a patch under the burqa. This is not about religion. This is about control. And this is from some Hindu news thing. So she tweets this out and says, this is about hatred.
But it also says this is not about religion, but you think it is about religion.
Yeah. Well, you know. So someone informs her this isn't true. However, what is true is that countless Palestinian women and girls have been blinded by Israel's artillery. And then Kelly J. Keane responds, it's unusual to see a mother with her child. Still, at least she's not holding her as she cries because that's not what mothers do, ... Implying that this is either staged or that Muslim women don't really care about their kids.
Yeah, she's done that a number of times. There was a woman, the video was like, what the fuck had happened? Like she'd lost 4 kids and her husband on the same day and was basically talking about it. And but she obviously used the term martyred, which like they triggers all do. Them. Sorry.
Yeah. Martyr triggers them.
Yes, yeah. And like whatever the Kelly J's response was essentially like, martyred? Why is she thinking about like that at a time like this? Blah, blah, blah. Basically being like, she's not really sad about her children dying.
Muslim women want their kids to grow up and be martyred, killing Jews. Yeah. That's basically what she...
that's literally what she thinks. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know.
Yeah, they're fucking disgusting people.
Anyway, so another thing about Kelly J. Keane, a few weeks ago, maybe this was 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, I don't know. She's branched off. So Let Women Speak, and all props to Let Women Speak and how they did facing the trans issue, the trans madness, great. But they've branched off now into being anti-Islam. I mean, just rabidly anti-Islam. And so they had they had an event in the park in London, I don't know, a month ago, and I call it Veil Face. And what they did is they had these things made, which says free your face, and then they marched and they symbolically freed their face because of the women, the enslaved, voiceless, powerless women in Middle Eastern and Islam-dominated countries who are trapped in a cloth prison. So since then, I guess there was another incident where they were having Let Women Speak, and she approached someone in a park. There was a family in the park, and 1 or 2 of the women were covered, and she went there and asked them why they cover their face, why doesn't their husband cover their face? And so, why
doesn't your, just a sec, like, why doesn't your husband dress up like Marilyn Monroe, Kelly? Do you realize you're not the only one that, like, he can do that too?
Yeah. Why doesn't your husband bleach his hair blonde and wear pantsuits? That woman, I don't want to shame her because she's a lovely little lady, but she needs to get some spanks when she's wearing that white suit. That's all I'm gonna say. Just a tip: get some spanks when you wear those suits. They're clinging, or get better fabric. I don't know. Sorry, that's why I'm only from the chest up. Uh, I will not do live streams filmed from behind, on purpose at least.
Yeah. No, I'm very particular.
Or free your, what's with this, free your roots, whatever. Yeah, but it's just, it's this, and I can understand why people who don't like are uncomfortable by, I don't understand people who are uncomfortable by the hijab, just the scarf. I can understand why people find the niqab and the burqa, that type. I get that. Yeah.
Mhm.
And if I lived in a place where they were like, if it was hypothetically like, you have to wear this or you're a whore and we're going to stone you and everything bad can happen to you, you're a non-person, I would be very unhappy about that. Okay. However, this weird thing that you can just go up to a woman and be like, why do you wear that on your head? Why does your husband wear it? I'd be like, fuck off. Who the fuck are you? I'm not making you wear it. I'm not putting on your kids.
And like this is like the thing about them all like dressing, like having a bunch of white women who don't wear veils at all, like
who hate Islam.
Who hate Islam.
Islam in their head. It's like the ultimate, like, and really like it's the clash of civilizations. I mean, dressing up in veils and then taking their veils off is does nothing for anyone. Yeah, any woman in the Middle East. And here it's fun for them.
The thing that I had noticed is that like there have been so I was like fiercely pro let women speak basically right up until shortly after she came to Australia. But one thing that I had always like thought was a bit curious was that at none of the events that I'd ever seen that she did in England or Australia or anywhere else in the world had there been a single woman in a hijab or like anyone visibly Muslim. There was a politician who said, like Moira Deeming, who's the Australian politician who got caught up in a big thing because she went to the Let Women Speak demonstration. She said she had a Muslim friend who was going to come to the demo but got scared off by the
the Muslim friend.
Yeah, the Muslim friend.
Or the friend or whatever friend.
Yeah, and
he agrees with me.
That was the closest.
Each other's faces and paint each other's nails. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the closest the closest that I'd ever seen like a Muslim come to participating in this movement. And so I just thought like and plus it seems as though Muslim people in general are more anti-trans than the rest of the population. So if you have this ostensibly bipartisan, non-faith like movement that's anti-trans, how come you can't mobilize a single Muslim woman? Then it took the turn that it did.
It's almost like Rob or Rubble.
Yeah.
That people don't like it when you demonize their religion, their culture, and all their
family members
and all their menfolk.
Yeah.
Tends to be not have a broad-based appeal. Even if people had some sort of even women who are opposed to or who don't wear the hijab or don't wear the niqab and would rather that more women didn't or their daughters didn't or their mothers didn't or whatever, they're going to stay away from that.
Mm-hmm.
Please, Jesus.
Yeah.
So that was my thing is that, again, it's this thing that they're doing this for these women. No. This is for them. They enjoy it. They get off on it. It's a power trip. It's superiority. They go on there and be like, emasculate and talk about Muslims, men, small penises, and they can't handle seeing women and all this stuff and take off cover your face. You look fucking ridiculous, but it's for them. I'm like, how this is veil face, like blackface.
Absolutely.
I'm sure a lot of people do blackface also, like, whatever. And it's just like, but this idea, again, when you have these organizations that seem to be or act like they're dominated, if not branches of Zionist organizations, You know, it's just like but no, they really care about the Afghan women. And they really care
Yeah.
about Iranian women. It's like nothing says you care about women like having no issue with them being bombed, sanctioned, all this stuff. That hurts women and children, and that tends to make things more conservative, especially when it's a Western fucking government and apparatus that's doing it.
Mm.
You know,
and like, for instance,
over to the people who are against changing gender relations and sexual gender norms and sexual relation between the sexes by being like, this is what the occupiers and the sanctioners and the imperialists
want.
That's what they want. You're siding with them, and they have a fucking point.
Yeah. And like one thing that I brought up with a local turf.
Bullshit. They care about these women. They care about using them as props.
One thing that I brought up with a local turf was I don't know if you know this, but like Sydney is a very gay city. It's apparently like statistically gayer than San Francisco. And it also has a huge Lebanese population. So there's a huge like gay Lebanese, lots of gay Muslims in Sydney. And so the idea that they're all kind of, you know, too conservative to be engaged with or reached on any kind of issue is bullshit. And it's definitely more reflective of the fact that the bulk of the turfs are psychos, and they don't understand how unpopular their views are either. They seem to think that like that support for Palestine is like a fringe issue, and most people, like normal people, support Israel, and just like essentially a few trans people support Palestine. And it's like, no, dude, you have no idea what's about to happen. You guys are all essentially like somewhere between like pro South African apartheid and pro Nazi Germany, like people who are about to end up on the very wrong side of history. And if there's going to be any kind of like GC movement left after that happens, it's going to be because there was some kind of component outside of you guys that managed to like keep it going.
Well, no, and I'm sure you had this before, is that like the level of their arguments are like even below like the average TRA argument. And I don't know if you want to you know, and there'll be like things like somehow like, okay, there's a lot of people who have trans flags or gender ideology people who are also opposed to or pro-Palestine. Ergo, that's all they need to know. And I'm like, so what?
Which is exactly lots of Nazis.
That means what? Or, they don't have gay marriage in there. I go, what? Okay, so they don't have gay marriage or pride parades in Gaza, so we're going to fucking kill them all? Are you out of your goddamn mind? But we're the ones with the problem. We're the bad guys. You know?
Which is exactly the same argument that was used against. Exactly the same argument that was used against them, being like, "Well, Nazis agree with you, so your position must be a Nazi position." That. Again, no pattern recognition, no no ability to comprehend that sort of stuff.
Or you don't care about gay people. I'm like, what? And then you try to tell them, like, let's look how Israel treats gay people in Gaza and Palestine. Let's look at how they do that.
Doesn't Israel not allow interracial marriage? I thought there was there's like some kind of restrictions on who can get married.
I don't know how it is. I don't know. I know that the state recognizes gay marriage in Israel, but rabbis in Israel will not conduct a gay marriage. So if you get married in Cyprus and come back, the state will recognize you as a married couple, but they don't do gay marriages like gay. I guess you have a rabbi do it. As far as I know, that still is the case. How they are, Israel is so racist. I can imagine that there's not a lot of Ethiopian Jews married to Ashkenazi Jews, but I'm sure there's a few. But they're also good tokens for them. It's like, look, we have this. Look at our Jewish. Look at our Black Zionists over here. We're racially cool. Oh, look, we didn't kick we didn't kick everybody out in 1948. Look at these people. I mean, they can't go and visit their relatives, and they can't do this and that. But it's basically cool because they're dangerous.
We haven't killed them.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But it's and I also, because they have this idea that, like, again with women, like that every moment of every day, inside and outside the houses across the Middle East, you're just one hair width away of being raped. If you're a woman, that seems to be what they think. And if you're a gay person, you're just one in like any moment of any day, inside outside the house, you're in danger of being taken and pushed off a cliff or hung. That's what they think. And I'm not going to say there isn't. That it's easy, officially it's easy to be a gay person, an out gay person in a lot of these countries. However, what I will say, if I can, an anecdote from Gaza is that when I was there, one of the things I did practically every weekend, I would spend like a whole day at this place called Rosie's. So I'd get my hair done, not just to kind of be like, like a wash and a blow dry and a hair massage and a manicure and a pedicure and probably some sort of facial and, massage. I would just be like, because it was cheap and I was just, relatively cheap. And usually it was segregated. So women, if you went to a women's place, it would just be women who would be doing all this stuff to you. Yeah. And then men go to men. But in Rosie's, I mean, they had 2 male employees and they weren't like doing like the full body massage or something, but hairstyle and like some facials and stuff. And these 2 people were as gay as the day is long. So gay. These 2 guys. So gay.
They were gayer than Sydney.
Yes. And it was fine. I mean, they didn't say I'm gay. And I wasn't like, I don't know if it's like a don't ask, don't tell thing. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, it's just like, just take that as for what you will. They were not trying to hide it. I mean, you would have to willfully try to tell it was just obvious that these people were gay. Now, maybe they're also married. I don't know. I didn't pry, but it's this idea that there's also the same thing in Iran. And I'm not saying it's great or, but that's for that society to figure out. Yeah. That it's kind of like a don't ask, don't tell thing. Like officially it's against the law, all this stuff, but there is a gay community in all these places. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, and I mean, like the throwing,
at any moment, any day, they're going to be like snatched out of their bed and like hung from a tree.
Yeah. Well, the big one that they're all obsessed with is the like getting the one time, I'm pretty sure it was once, and it wasn't in Palestine, but that someone was thrown off a roof. Yeah. And there was that was a problem in Australia, like in the 80s and 90s. I'm pretty sure it was in Sydney. There was some kind of like gay cruising spot that was like close to, it was like in the forests, like close to cliffs. And gay bashers used to go out there and essentially like, herd guys off, and like they would get drawn up as suicides because they would be like chased off of cliff faces and like really repugnant shit. But it's not as though like that type of thing is completely unheard of, and no one was like, oh, you can't go to Australia because every gay person like
and there wasn't like human rights conferences and talking about this, talking about, oh my God, what's going on in Sydney. I mean, why I stand with Sydney, and which would have been right. But no, this is the point, is that these ladies, and it's not just these ladies, but these particularly, it's quite pronounced with them because they're really out and proud with their ignorance and racism, etc.
And in the same way that like Jews can hide behind their Jewishness to be like, I can't be racist because I'm a Jew. They hide behind their womanness to be like, I can't really be bad.
You can't call a feminist racist. You can't call a women's rights advocate misogynist. You can't, but you wouldn't kid a guy with glasses, would you? Yeah. But the point I'm making is there's no. So when these things happen, of course, people be like, yeah, that's terrible. I'm glad that that's probably the frequency of people being targeted because they're gay has gone down in a lot of places. Yeah, fantastic, that's great. But what they don't realize is that when that happened, they wouldn't say, "Oh, that's a mark on all of Western civilization." Yeah, there's something essentially bad and barbaric and whatever about Western civilization, because look how gay people have been treated in some of these places. Look what happens to women. And I'll just throw out that in 2013, something like 75% of the women who were killed in Italy were killed by their husbands or boyfriends, current or former. But yet we're not all like, I stand with the way that
Italian
is
women.
talked about and the way it's presented when it happens in a Muslim country or community. Totally different vocabularies. It's essentialized, it's orientalized. This idea that, yeah, women, gender relations, sexuality, modesty norms, ideas about homosexuality in Islam and before Islam was a thing. So in Arab cultures, because there were Arabs, as far as I'm aware of, that was word that ethnicity was around before Muhammad came down the mountain and Islam started to take off. Is that these things change. Yeah. And this idea they want to pluck out. So they pluck out this atrocity parade. So they pick out the things that any bad thing that happens, real or imagined, that is carried out by a Muslim man. They pluck it out and they use that as as an exemplar of of Islam across time and space. But they don't do that, of course, when it's Christian, when it's Jewish, when it's English, when it's Canadian, when it's that, so there's something essentially weird and just like in the cake, when a Muslim is doing it.
And there aren't multiple. One of the big ones is they'll refer to
in the headscarf too. That has not been consistent across time and space. The meaning and the reason for what women put on their head or over their face is not a constant. It's not like water being wet.
Yeah. I was just going to say, and they always refer to the Muslim culture as though there is like there's, however many dozens of Muslim countries, which you've got to say, like, they're all probably going to have their own culture. And then there's going to be individual cultures within those cultures, but they all just get like the Muslim culture. Do we want to go through more of the,
I just wanted to say that in terms of I wanted to add again this pivot from concern about women's rights and children's rights and safeguarding because of gender ideology and pretending that men are women and women are men and all this stuff. That DJ Lippy is another one who's with a longtime Let Women speaker, and she's also posting stuff like this. This was last week. Could this be Europe, the future of Europe? Call me as many names as you like, but men from the communities who did this are flooding into the West. Many were second or third generation Brits. I could live next door to one of the men who burnt these girls to death. Any of us could. And I'm like, okay, so I was basically like, so I was just kind of messing with her, and she was like, and she said, Islam is to blame for so much damage to my country. I bet you're not even speaking to me from the UK. You never set foot here. And so I responded to her, measuring with two cups, as the Dutch would say. So they can talk about out their ass about places they have never been to, and about 2 billion Muslims, or about Islam from the beginning of from day one. But others can't weigh in on their reverse colonization and rape fantasies unless they're actually living in the UK.
Yeah.
So, imperialism. My thing is imperialism is held out the UK, not Islam. Islam, the ruling elite in the UK or in the EU or in the United States are not dominated by Muslims. There could be a few in there. And then I had to add, by the way, I have lived in England and my mom's maiden name is Wallace, so kiss my ass, bitch. Anyway. And then she says, so then I ask her, like, what specifically has Islam caused in the UK? And so then she gets back: grooming gangs, female genital mutilation, honor killings, teachers hiding for criticizing Islam, cousin marriage, and Humza Yousaf. Humza Yousaf is like, he's a MP in Scotland. And I think he took over briefly when Nicola Sturgeon got kicked out or had to leave. And he's a Muslim, but he was born in Scotland. And so then I have to, mock them. Things caused by Islam, according to English Rose Lippy: grooming, prostitution, and rape, invented by Islam; female genital mutilation, invented in Islam; murder by a family member, also caused by Islam; cousin marriage; and the Scottish politician Humza Yousaf. So I use this, and this is a good thing to use on these people. I don't, from the Princess Bride, I do not think it means what you think it means, this word you keep on using. It's like, I do not know what caused means.
Yeah.
So something bad happened, and the person that did the bad thing, the very bad thing, is Muslim. Okay, they're Muslim, or their grandparents came from Pakistan and they were, whatever. Fine. But that's different than what these people say. They want to say they did it because they're Muslim or because they're Pakistani, just like the Nazis did with the Jews. It's not that the Jews happen to do this. It's because they do this because they're Jewish. And if you don't see them doing it, it's because they're tricking you.
Yeah. Yeah, the parallels between the Nazi propaganda and their like anti-Islam propaganda is are really, really strong, which is so ironic because Kelly J. Keane used to speak so often about like, we know we're the ones that like would have stood up during Nazi Germany and helped hide Jews and blah blah blah, and it's like, no, you're the violent anti-immigrant extremists. You would have been in the Nazi party and you would have been going on about like the Jews are doing this to like German women and girls and et cetera, et cetera. And the one of the things that like pisses me off is they always talk about like X country is importing said population, and it's like, that's not how it works. You don't place an order for like however many people from whichever country. Like
this isn't like the Chinese labor that came to build the railroad. I think they kind of
exactly. And that was the whole point. The reason why there are rules about like refugees have certain human rights in terms of like where they can seek asylum and that type of thing is because that didn't exist in 1945. And so like I like to compare it to fire escapes in factories. When there were no fire escapes in factories or regulations around it, factories would burn down and everyone inside would die. And so they had to like say, no, you have to put it in. And similarly, when everyone like got killed in Germany, it was like, no, okay, now you can just flee, and you can seek asylum anywhere, because if we don't let people do that, then shit like the Holocaust happens. And in the name of Jews, they're now being like, no, we need to have like these tight borders, and everyone needs to stay where they are, and etc. I just quickly need to go to the toilet again. I've got I'll be back soon.
I'll keep it a go. I'll riff on that while you're gone. So what I want to say is that I think it's problematic and bad faith to apply racist or non-racist binary onto immigration debates. So like anybody that's critical of immigration or wants less immigration is somehow racist, and those who aren't are not. There's obviously racism on both, people have things on both sides, and my thing is that it should be, and it is possible to have a debate about immigration in terms of amount, in terms of in terms of different populations, etc. And I get why I can totally understand why people have demographic anxieties and whatnot, and wanting to preserve that and to have more of a say about the amount of people coming in and the places they're coming in from. But that doesn't require demonizing a whole religion of 2 billion people, or essentializing saying that there's something essential about Pakistanis or other people, or Somalis or whatever. There's just something essential in there that they're going to come and they're going to be more a serious threat to our kids and our women and whatnot, because of there's just something in the ether with that I would hope that it's possible to have concerns about immigration and want to limit it or whatever without demonizing and going, full on racist, and that they're coming to rape us and eat us or whatever else. Yeah. Anyway, so just to move on to, again, that this is from last week or from a few days ago, that so these ladies, these genocidal feminists and these perfs and the, this isn't just, it was a while and then the smoke cleared a bit and they calmed down a bit and they got somewhat more measured, or at least caring about their reputation with the things they would say about what's going on in Gaza. But this is August 22nd, and an organization called Palestinian Deep Dive, I guess, or maybe it's a podcast. So there was two ladies, two Palestinians from Gaza. I don't think they're in Gaza anymore, but they were born and raised in Gaza. The other lady, maybe she was, I can't remember. But anyway, they're basically talking about what is it with all these feminists who are silent through this genocide, who can't seem to see Palestinian pain and suffering, or to care about what's happening with women and children. And mentioned J.K. Rowling in particular, and mentioned that, it's really difficult because, her books are so important in Gaza. Palestinian children, the last couple, since they came out, loved those books. And that trying to feel like, why she hasn't said one word about that, but yet she'll retweet all this Orientalist WDI Afghanistan stuff. They tag her and everything now. So Matt Kennard, who's a good follow, he shared these two women talking about what's with the feminists, not saying anything about us being bombed, shot, starved, assaulted, sexually assaulted like fish in a barrel, not just since October 7th, but obviously it's become quite intense there. Anyone paying attention. And so Net Moms, who is a member of Let Women Speak, I think she's like one of the office chapters or something like that. I checked her bio, and she responded. This is her response to two women, two Palestinians from Gaza, talking about the silence of most feminists and women's rights advocates in the West. And Net Mom says, "Why do you cover your hair? Why don't Muslim men do this?" I mean, it's gross. Aja, anyone who's aware of the TERF scene and Let Women Speak, Aja's been a part of that for a long time, and she's also, she's not. She is what's the correct term? A person of color, but as far as I know, born in the UK. And her response, she's going to again to this post about these two Palestinian women, Palestinians from Gaza, almost 2 years into a genocide and 75 plus years since the Nakba. This is the response. And Aja says, the Muslim men don't cover their hair because they aren't raised being told they are whores who will be raped if they don't. Anyway, Rebel.
Yeah. She gets away with a lot. I think, was she like Jamaican or something like that? I think
maybe her mom comes from there, but I'm pretty sure she was
right, heritage. Yeah, I think she's born in the UK too. Yeah. But it's like Jamaican isn't like a real enlightened culture in a lot of ways too. Who is it? There's another dipshit. Bertie Rose. She's like a prominent TERF too, and she's like I think traveler, like gypsy kind of heritage, and the shit that like she says about other cultures, and it's like that culture has some crazy things. At least if the reality TV that I watch
it's not so much the hypocrisy; it's that is not true.
Yeah.
Are there some men who will tell their daughters that you're a whore and you'll be raped if you don't cover. Okay, there could be, but is that the norm? It is
Yeah.
not the norm. It's not even close to being the norm. These people are out of their fucking minds.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous. All this stuff feeds in to dehumanizing a whole group of people. Yeah?
Absolutely.
And it's like they don't give a shit. And I wonder if they're being paid, if they just really like it. I mean, who knows? But another thing is you mentioned Birdie, and I want to talk about, because they will peddle any anti migrant that isn't white. If it can couch it as anti-migrant and anti-Islam, then that's the sweet spot. So for those of you who don't know, a few days ago, this girl, 12 years old from Scotland, she was the police were called, and she was charged with brandishing a weapon, and like approaching people brandishing with these weapons. And the story fled that, oh my God, the British police, this Muslim migrant tried to rape her sister, and she protected herself, and she's the one that gets in trouble with the police for trying to protect her sister from being raped by this Muslim migrant. Okay, total fucking bullshit. Elon Musk's popping off on it. All these terrorists, all these genocidal feminists and pervs are regurgitating it, including Birdie, and lo and behold, it's like the idea actually is that what happened is that this girl brandished a knife and an axe, went viral with rebel rousers such as, this is from the Times or the Daily Times, Elon Musk and Tommy Robinson pitching in to claim the man filming the exchange was a migrant. Others lauded the girl as Braveheart figure defending her homeland from a predatory alien, with comparisons quickly cited about the Asian grooming gang scandal of Rotherham and Rochdale. Now we can reveal the man being threatened now what's happened is that these two girls, or 12 years old, came up to this couple this young girl, young lady, had a knife and an axe, approached them, and that's when the guy took his camera out to film it, because she was, being menacing with a knife and an axe. So it's come out to be, they looked into it and found that the man was being threatened as a family man who has been living in the UK for 4 years, and who was accompanied by his wife on the way to shops when the incident occurred. So the couple was a young couple. Yeah. And this girl and her friend come up, and she has a knife and an axe, and they're like, coming at them. That's what happened. And guess what? And check this out. And people are like, wanting to be like it was like a Muslim migrant and a rapist and all this stuff. But here's the couple. Bulgarian, I think Bulgarians from a Christian family. So Christian Bulgarians who've been in the UK legally for 4 years. Yeah. This is the grooming gang, nefarious Muslim migrant who that Braveheart girl had to protect her younger sister from being molested by with an axe and a knife. When in fact, they were walking on the street. He was walking on the street with his wife to go to the shops.
And part of it, I think, they said that the police reviewed CCTV, so there was more than one thing. But that's not even good enough, because I've seen people since then be like, well, he shouldn't have been filming them. And it's like, because they attacked him or tried to attack him, or brandished a fucking axe and a knife, you can't at least, record that. But also, that's not the first, there's obviously lots of, that's not the first thing that's gone through the anti-immigrant kind of campaign. That's total bullshit. Michael posted a thing recently, King Critical posted a thing recently about how relentlessly those people are lying about all these different incidents. And one of them was a thing Tommy Robinson had reposted, which was two black guys with a white kid, and they were sort of like real close to him as he was walking, and they were basically just like, why would a black man be with white children? They must be trying to like do something to this kid. And it's like, one of them was like it was like his grandson or something. But that doesn't matter. That guy's life now, he's being targeted by crazy racists who've called him a groomer and completely ruined his life, completely fabricated. And they get these campaigns every couple of weeks or every other week, and no one thinks like, oh, we were wrong about all the other ones. Maybe I'll just at least hold off for a couple of days to see whether this one turns out to be right or not before I retweet.
Like, don't believe your lion eyes and ears. It's all Pollywood. Like people say, it's Pollywood. Like everything that's coming out of Gaza and the West Bank and Syria, it's all just Pollywood. Because Israel cares about civilians and whatever. It's the same thing now. It can be like, and it's not just quote unquote lefty papers. It's a variety of newspapers have published what the police found. There's video. There's the other stuff. There's corroborating witnesses. But no, they know. Well, he filmed her. It's like, if you're a dude and two young girls come at you and they're being in a weird manner, and the post Me Too, fuck yeah, you're gonna film that shit. As a foreigner, especially. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God. I mean, people do that all the time. I mean, it's just, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't know if they're on the mailing list, but all that stuff goes through these ladies now. You have DJ Lippy, who used to just be like, I don't know, she did DJ stuff and she'd go out and she like decided that she was going to go to let women speak. And now all of a sudden she's like, is this going to happen to Europe? Are they going to cage us and make us into rape slaves? It's like, no one's coming for you. They're not that into you. They're not going to come and adopt the Sharia law. They're not coming for you. Calm down.
Yeah. Unless, for whatever reason, Israel wants to plant a false flag in your country or something like that, you're probably going to be okay.
But it's not that Muslim people are perfect or Muslim guys do no wrong. No, but it's just like there's some like this idea that, I don't know if Soros is behind it. Like there's just like, Islam. And it's like, if you want to have an issue with migration and the hauling out of your country, you should look up and be like, who benefits from that? Look at the push and pull factors, people. Push and pull factors. And then it's like, if that's what you're really concerned about, then stop being concerned. It's great, but they just will rape us. That's the only reason we don't want them to come, because they're just barbarian rapists who will rape all of us. Okay.
It's like, so then stop supporting these wars in their countries that make them want to leave. Like, the push and pull factors.
Anyway,
what's with the hijab?
I had to do this because when the lovely genocidal feminists and perfs and Let Women Speak and Party of Women people, and again, I'm not saying everyone who participates in Let Women Speak or Party of Women or genocidal feminists or perfs, but a lot of them are. So that's just based on their own words. Okay. So my thing is, after that, is like, that's why I use this. I changed the things. Usually this is about Western journalists, but I'm like, feminists, what's with the hijab?
Yeah. Everything else is normal. Oh yeah, your kid's dead. That's whatever. But what's with this weird head thing?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, and I know we've been going for a while. I just want to share with people the lovely, if you think I'm just making this stuff up, and this is just a sample. So you have Mother Turf. Islam says, this is, she's telling me, Islam says your face is on show, your opinions are worthless, and do you venture out without a male chaperone? It's like, whatever. Sister Vigilant said, hopefully not one male will be left once the IDF is finished. She's lovely. Belissa Cohen, Turf Ultra. Again, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but one of the things is that they were really, the Turfs are really upset about the no debate, the cancel culture, the not allowing for different opinions. And Ballistic Cohen, Turf Ultra, outed Jennifer Billick, who's you should follow. She's amazing on the transgender stuff, focusing on it from political economy and big tech and big pharma and whatnot. Not on just the pervy guys who want to, listen to us pee. She outed her. This is August 18th. If you've missed this development, 11th Hour blogs, Jennifer Billick has gone full-blown anti-Israel, pro-Hamas, and is purging all dissenters. And this is great. Again, they're brilliant people. The tiny country of Israel, which was attacked, is causing a genocide in a country whose population is growing, not shrinking. All right.
We're so small and innocent. We're so tiny. We're small.
And again, Gaza's not a country, dipshit. They don't have a
you won't let it be.
They've been besieged. There's no Air Force. There's no Marines. There's no National Guard. There's no airplanes, helicopters, tanks. There's no way of. There's no air defense. There's no nothing. You have some militias, some armed resistance militias with old guns and homemade explosives. That's what you fucking have. Yeah. Who are opposed to this group of crazy people who are funded by all the powers that be, who aren't into it. Anyway, so somebody provided more evidence of her, like saying like whatever, just basically like that just I think questioning her understanding of genocide. And she writes back, poor starving Gazans. Hey, UN, please send Gazans a few truckloads of treadmills, not food. They're in danger of being genocided by obesity. This is this month.
Right.
Yeah. Cassandra the Oracle. This is her to me. Tell us more about this, you crackhead. More Hollywood productions for the dumbest cunts on the planet to coo over. You should honestly be ashamed of how dumb you are. So again, anything that shows what's going on in Gaza or the West Bank, it's all Hollywood. It's all made up. Yeah?
Which again is like a repurposed anti-Semitic trope. Instead of being like the Jews control Hollywood, it's now like it's all Hollywood. It's so like close to Nazism.
Nobody has more power than the Palestinians, clearly.
Yeah.
And Bessie Braddock, or I like to call her Genocide Bessie. When Hamas uses schools, etc., as bases, and Israel advises civilians to evacuate when it plans to target the bases, it's not genocide. If Hamas cared about Palestinian civilians, they let them shelter in the tunnels rather than using them as human shields. That you support that is sick. Okay.
Hang on just a sec. With that one, it's like if they were anywhere near anything that looked like Hamas was involved, they would instantly not be civilians anymore, according to the IDF, and would then be legitimate targets. Like,
which they are anyway. Yeah, you can't win for losing.
They are anyway. Yeah.
You can't win for losing. No.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. It's like, since they won't allow they want a totally demilitarized, totally disarmed Palestine. There's a reason why these guys wear face coverings. Yeah. And so if they were to be like, okay, well, we don't want to put anybody in danger. We're going to have our Hamas training camp here, and we're going to store this stuff there. How long would that stuff last?
Yeah.
And it's like they react to the terms of engagement sent by Israel and their Western backers, but yet they get blamed for all of it. It's just that she's a tool. But she goes on. Yeah. She was lovely. Hamas could release the hostages. Hamas could choose to let civilians shelter in many tunnels they've built instead of using them as human shields. Hamas has chosen to do neither of these things. Israel has the right to defend itself. I stand with Israel. Genocide Bessie. Also a TERF, cares about children, women's rights, all that stuff. She's lovely. Sal Robbins. Everyone knows Hamas terrorists use civilians as human shields. The 4 hostages IDF rescued were found in 2 separate locations. IDF is targeting Hamas, not civilians. Let's hope they find and free more hostages. Again, the hostage cult.
And like there's actual footage of the IDF strapping Palestinians to the front of armored personnel carriers and using them to, go into buildings ahead of them so they won't be targeted. Like, you don't give a shit about terrorism. You don't give a shit about human shields. You don't give a shit about like any of the things that you pretend to.
Well, it's also like I joke with them now because I used to try to be good faith and like give information. Now, once it's clear that they're just, this far out, it's like, whatever, just shame and mock. It's like Israelis knew Hebrew for human shield. Israel is an imperial outpost with a state. Yeah. They put their stuff in Tel Aviv and all around, a lot of stuff in Tel Aviv around quote unquote human shields. When they were finally getting some of their own freaking medicine from Iran, IDF soldiers and government and other officials hid under hospitals and in schools. Yeah. Yeah. So they were hoping something would happen, like, oh look, they're targeting civilian things, blah 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 blah. It's all bullshit. It's all accusation, And it's also clear that these hostages are worth nothing to Israel alive and in Zionist occupied Palestine.
Can I just say a little bit on that?
To them in Gaza or killed in Gaza. That's the only use they are to the Zionists.
Can I just say a little bit on that?
Please.
So like a big thing about the American like war propaganda is this kind of idea of like war is really brutal and we're just kind of like sent there or compelled to kind of participate. But one of the ways that we rescue our humanity in some senses is through this idea of like no one left behind. And so and that's kind of like the whole Rambo thing, like that the Vietnamese were holding on to hostages for whatever reason and they'd been left behind and we needed to like go back and get them. And that whole thing. And it's like, I don't think people appreciate how much like the IDF don't see it like that at all. And they're like, absolutely every man left behind. In fact, if we could kill the men left behind, that would actually help us, and we would like do that if we could. Anyway,
and also to be like the Rambo thing, one guy went in there, they didn't go, okay, we're going to kill everyone to get our POWs back. Would some people be okay with that? Does that make the right thing to do or the smart thing to do? It's just the cult of the Israeli hostage is amazing.
But that's a similar kind of like a similar thing was the US soldiers hostage in Vietnam had been or like held a prisoner. Like the conspiracy theory was that after the war ended, the Viet Cong were holding on to a bunch of like US soldiers for like whatever reason indefinitely. And what that was used to do was to allow the US government to not have to pay any reparations or do any kind of like reconstruction in Vietnam, because they were like, well, you're secretly holding like people for no reason. And so like, this whole like we're doing it for the hostages thing has been a thing that people have used throughout the years.
Well, and these people they also would be like, it's a war and this and that war. So it's like, hello. And again, a lot of these people also are pro-Ukraine. So all the stuff they throw at Russia, when US, UK backed Israel does it like in spades, they don't say shit. Then they forget about international law. When it's about Israel, everything's it's like, no, there's proportionality. You're supposed to distinguish this is what they signed on to. I'm not saying they've always followed it, obviously, because we know who, those who make the rules get to break the rules. But on paper, at least, and according to people like Scott Ritter, he says that most of the U.S. military is at least legally obligated to follow international rules of war. I'm not saying they do all the time, but proportionality. So you're not you're not supposed. It's not okay to go and flatten a place
to get one guy.
You're supposed to distinguish as distinguish between military targets and non-military targets. And you're supposed to use weapons that reflect that as well. Yeah. So you're not supposed to use the bunker buster thing that makes a crater in a refugee camp and then say, oh, well, we got information that there was Hamas guy there. And then all these people be like, well, Hamas was there. It's their fault. You know, it's just whatever. But
it's like, do none of you remember Abu Ghraib? And did any of you stop supporting the US military after Abu Ghraib? Like, yeah. Anyway.
No, yeah, it's crazy. So a couple more before we wrap up. Eve Zenci, whatever. She's also, if you see a yellow ribbon, they're part of the Israeli cult of the Israeli hostage. When is evil ever right? You retarded witch. She's talking to me. If I'm glad about anything concerning you, it's the fact that you very likely live in a country populated with the kinds of monsters the IDF is fighting against. No, if only. It's a matter of time before your chickens come home to roost. Yeah, see, they want me to be raped and murdered. They're lovely. Trust Yope. This is another Eva Wright. She's another women's rights advocate. Get in the bin. Better yet, move to Gaza or Tehran. And this wasn't in response to me. This is a response to Heather Brinskell Evans and Julian Vigo, because of the articles that Heather has been, Savage Minds has been publishing of Heather, critical of the feminists helping manufacture consent for genocide and bombing campaigns, etc. So they're lovely. I think that might be all the fantastic stuff that I have. Let's see, did I miss anything? Do you want to go over this?
That's what was it? Yeah, I was just arguing with someone about the hijab bans.
I don't know if it's easier to see or not, but let's see. I think this is probably the easiest.
Yeah. Go to the next one.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically she was just saying like, oh, there's no choice. And so I was like pointing to...
Oh, yeah, the hijab. There's no choice. They all have to wear it or they die.
Yeah. And so I was pointing to countries like Tunisia is one of the more kind of liberal Muslim countries. And I was like, okay, well, do you have a problem with women wearing it there? Because heaps of women don't wear it there. So it's obvious, like, you know, it's not as though it's like all culturally imposed. And suddenly she was like, yes, I do have a problem there. And that's like, okay, so the mandatory thing isn't an issue. And she was like, well, it's from... you know, it's a Middle Ages thing. And I'm like, well, what about the UK royal family? That's like a outdated...
What Jewish people wear on their head?
Yeah. And the yarmulkes. Yeah. But then there's Shiatels, the wigs that they wear over their hair, Amish bonnets, all these things. And she was like, no head coverings that signify... religiosity in 2025. And it's like, oh, okay, so no freedom of religion in 2025. That's how we've become progressive.
It's like, it's okay to be fascist, like this progressive fascism. Yeah. Not that I'm sure that all fascists probably think that what they want is for good. Yeah. And not, except for the ones that just like to, beat up people and say crazy stuff. But yeah, that you can ban all. So they want, it's like no. So for this person, no religiosity, no porn, no this, no that, no. It's just they're all pure. It's like this puritanical, this like secular Puritan wasp stuff. I don't know what it is. It's missionary. It's crazy. But yeah, no, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Oh yeah, Stacy, one last one. Turf Happy. This is 23 hours ago. She told me Israel could have inflicted an immediate genocide in air quotes, if they wanted to eradicate Hamas. This is so fantastic. The length of time, she said this yesterday, the length of time is for the preservation of civilians. You hear that, people? Israel is doing everything it can to reduce civilian death. That's why the starving, the cutting off of water and electricity, the saying that they're all animals, the saying that even Palestinian babies are not innocent, all the stuff they say, all the stuff they then do, and then boast about it and celebrate. No, don't believe that. they are very concerned with preservation of civilians. And don't believe what in the Lakud's Charter, or don't go and read what the first Zionists have said or continue to say about wanting a land without the land without a people for a people without a land. And you can't have a Jewish-dominated ethno-state with lots of people who aren't Jewish there. But good luck. Can you believe this?
I saw someone
yesterday. This crazy woman is saying this, and she probably believes it.
Yeah. I saw someone say that you could apply the same argument to the Nazi Holocaust. Like, oh well, they took so long. Like, why did they take so long if they were trying to kill everybody? Like, if it was a real genocide, it would have happened in 2 weeks. But clearly, they're like,
if you can't get your genocide done in a week,
yeah. Rome wasn't built in a day, but a genocide shouldn't take you more than a week. Every good dictator knows that.
And that's in the Geneva Conventions.
Anything longer than a week isn't a genocide.
How long did they take, though? Because how successful were they? I mean, if they killed, they've killed more civilians and more kids and women than any other war in recent memory. But how long did that take now? I mean, because that's,
Yeah. That's probably because they were concerned. That's the only reason why things take any time in the military, is because people are concerned about human rights, etc.
Yeah.
Well, this was great. I'm glad. We got to do it. I lost the chat, so I don't know if anyone had any sound problems on my end, but I'm sure your chat would have raised some alarms if there were. Thanks so much for coming on and doing the StreamYard stuff for this chat. And I'll talk.
Yeah, I want to say everybody should go, whether you're watching on one of my Morbid Symptom channels or Tara Van Dyke on X or the Substack or on Rebel of Empires, please do like, subscribe, share, etc. If you have a question or comment about this topic, let us know either under the video or online, and we'll try to get to it for the next time we join streams, or he's on my stream, I'm on his stream, because unfortunately these crazy ladies, I mean, again, genocidal feminists, I don't think it's a bug. I think it might be a feature.
Mm-hmm.
And
unfortunately,
the cult of the Afghan woman is something to behold, I have to tell you.
One thing though, I had heard from someone in my comments said that radfems on Tumblr are way different to radfems on X, and that heaps of them, I don't know, but this is what they said, was that heaps of them have been posting about Palestine. So I've been thinking about getting onto Tumblr to see, about that. But anyway.
I mean, genocidal feminists are a group of feminists. I'm not saying that all feminists are genocidal or are part of the cult of the Afghan women or the cult of the Israeli hostage or perfs. No, they're obviously. But this goes, the thing is that, obviously there needs to be a hegemonic battle waged in feminism.
Yes.
Because it's not just a few and it's not just randos. There's some really big name people who fought, who are the best thing you can say about them is they hadn't said anything, but a lot of them are actually, it fits the bill of genocide denial or apology or outright support.
Absolutely.
And so feminists need to reckon with this. There's this division. There's the thing about blaming everything on the patriarchy, which is largely fantastical. Like you said, capitalism dispatched with the patriarchy a while ago. So there's vestiges. So, the rule of the father, it's not for most places, sorry. And then they need to look at that craziness about attributing original sin to men. And pathologizing everything that's masculine that they don't like. And there's that division, there's this division, and then there's the division that a lot of feminists will say you're not feminist if you're not for trans rights. If you don't think that trans women are women in every way that matters, you're not a good feminist. Feminists need to get their freaking house in order because it's a mess and there's a lot of nastiness in there. And that's why I'm saying smash the feminist patriarchy. Smash the feminist patriarchy, smash the feminist Zionism, fascist feminist imperialism, Orientalism, colonialism. Get right with your political economy, yeah. And hello, there's two kinds of us, men and women. We got to figure it out, people. Anyway, Rubble, bring it home, baby, bring it home.
I think that's it. That's everything. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll see you all soon. I'm have a recorded video that I want to make with some funny rebuttals to various stupid arguments by
before you go, did you ever get a response? Wasn't Kelly J. Keane supposed to come on your show? What happened to that?
I've been trying to. I offered her, when I actually spoke to her on her show, I said I'll pay you so I can explain to you what's going on in Gaza, and she was like, oh no, I've seen everything before. Quickly tried to get out of it. And another time I got into a chat and was like, she was like, oh, I'm so desperate for money. And I got into the chat and was like, I'll give you $400 if you do an interview. And then when it came to it, I messaged her and she realized what she was going to have to talk about. And she was like, I can do without the money, thanks, because I'm probably getting paid by someon else who will cut me off if I accept this money. But we don't know that, but I do know that. Yeah, I've been goading. But there was one time when she said, you're trying to force me to talk to you. And it's like, I can't force you to talk to me. I'm just trying to illustrate how much of a hypocrite you are and how you have to hide in order to maintain this information bubble that your ideas are dependent on. So I've been trying to get together, or I had been thinking about we need to get a couple of grand or something just to make the point even more pronounced. Because
I mean, the thing is that there's no real good reason for her to.
No, she wouldn't. I think it's just funny. To be $5,000, $10,000. You can't have a conversation for 15,000. Whatever it is. But anyway,
I mean, if you have that money lying around, I mean, it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, but yeah. Anyway,
herself to have to have her proclamations about Islam and Gaza and Palestine and Israel and all that challenged by somebody who's who'd be able to
who knows anything about it. yeah
You gotta have your wits about you though, or she'll eat you alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so okay, well, hopefully we'll see. I would like that. I know some people who I'm hoping that that would happen. It would be nice. Or because there's people there's tags, so Turfs Against Genocide, who were supportive of her in the beginning, especially when she was coming under attack by the so-called head girls, so by Bindle and all these things, calling her,
Yeah, me too.
So there are people who still hold out hope that this is just some sort of fever, but I'm like, at a certain point,
not anymore.
People say and do.
Yeah.
And I hope
anyway, I gotta run.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So bye, Rubble.
See ya.
Okay. So, hi everyone. So that was Rubble. This has been a first podcast I've done in a few months. I had to take a bit of a reprieve. I had some projects and writing I needed to do, but Morbid Symptoms is going to be back up and running. At least one, hopefully two streams a week. If you're interested in being a guest, or you have a topic you think we should discuss, or you want to try out being my co-host, please let me know. And please do follow and subscribe. And I will have an outro thing with some details here. Hopefully I still have that if all is good. It's been a while. Thank you. Fight the feminist patriarchy, genocidal feminism, and perfs. You feminists out there who aren't genocidal and aren't perfs, if you wage a counter hegemonic battle for the mantle of feminism, let me know. I'd be happy to support you in that endeavor. Everybody take care. See you next time.